Each week, we welcome to the NFG stage one of our highly talented members or special guests to bring us something designed to help you and your business. 20 years ago, following in the footsteps of Dick Whittington, our next guest's career began in London, where within the financial services world of underwriting, he soon learned how not only to assess if the streets truly were paved with gold, but also how to value and potentially insure them. A handful of years ago, taking him one step north into Essex, he specialized deeper within the market of non-standard consumer credit, where he learned what it took to not only run individual branches as unique businesses, but also how to maximize their performance of his many teams. Gaining an insight into motivation, individual and team strengths, this became a growing passion, triggering him to find a way to combine his skills, learning about the many small businesses for whom he'd helped identify from the outside the obstacles that they faced, which, as small business owners, don't always see clearly from the inside. Taking another step north to Ipswich in the county of Suffolk, he decided that rather than starting a new business from scratch, he would instead take a small leap himself, investing in an established franchise to allow him to leverage their existing reputation and network, training materials, and many, many tools, becoming an action coach. Passionate about helping business owners to develop themselves so that their business will give them and their family the life they want. His belief is, if you want it enough, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. Here to keep us on the right track with a talk on converting more sales, we welcome Nik Gray. Good morning, Nik.
Hi, Richard. Thank you very much. You might need to just pin me. There's no PowerPoint. We're just good old-fashioned flip chart today. So who is in sales? Don't answer that. We haven't got enough time, but we're all in sales. So the interesting thing is that if I was to ask you, experience shows me that the words that you would tell me when they come to mind about sales are often negative words. Negative words, things like salespeople are pushy, they don't listen, they're aggressive, they're like Arthur Daly. Now, if we've got these negative beliefs around sales and salespeople, what's that going to do to our sales and our ability to sell when we're in a selling position? So it's important that we lose these negative beliefs. So first of all, I want you to understand, what is selling? So selling is professionally helping people to buy. And some people say, I don't want to be a pushy salesperson, but if you truly believe that your product or service is better than your competition, then if you don't push sometimes, then you're inadvertently pushing your customers to go and buy an inferior product or service from your competition. So sometimes we do need to be pushy, but we're not pushing anything that our customers don't need. We're professionally helping people to buy. So when we understand that they want to buy, what's the key motivations in that buying decision? So the buying decisions are based on unconscious urges. Urges, easy for me to say. The biggest of those urges is emotion. Now, some people will tell you that the buying decision is 100% emotion, but most will agree that most is. So perhaps 80% emotion versus 20% logic. Think about the person who's just bought a flash new sports car, takes it home to their partner and justifies the decision with, oh, it's got a better fuel economy than my other one. So the same is true for your sales process. So can you engage your prospects' emotions? And that's what we're going to look at today. So even if you're selling B2B and you think you're selling to businesses, where do I get the emotion there? Think about the person who's involved in the buying decision. That's still a person, and how can you connect with their emotion? What's important to them? And what's important to them is the key. It's everyone's favorite radio station, WIIFM, if you like. What's in it for me? So people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You could think of it along those lines. And one basic human need is to be understood. In fact, the next time you have an argument with your partner or anybody, take time just to step back, button your lip, and just wait to understand their point of view entirely, or even ask them, what is it that you're so upset about? When you finally understand what it is that's driving their anger, repeat it back to them. Repeat it back to them. This will improve the communication, and they'll be ready to listen to you. And this is what we want to use in our communication in a sales situation as well. So what is the pain point? This is the next step. What is the pain point that you're solving? Now, as entrepreneurs or business owners, you're in the business of solving situations. So what is the problem that you're solving, not the product? Sell them what they want and not what they need. If you think of an example, Asda, for instance. Asda, live better for less. So they're selling the benefits of having better things in life that you want, but things that you can afford at an affordable price, or things that you can't afford at an affordable price. So let's just look at a simple strategy you can use in your sales meeting, and that is the cup of coffee strategy. So I want you to think about the ratio of 2 to 1. Next time you're having a meeting, whether it's face-to-face or virtually, I want you to think about having a cup of coffee, whether you've got one in front of you or not, but imagine you've both got a cup of coffee. Your challenge is to drink your coffee before they've drunk theirs. So how do we do that? So with a ratio of 2 to 1, and we've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, you ask great questions so that they have to do lots of talking. And during that talking, you'll uncover more needs. So if you think about salespeople, people often say, oh, so-and-so is a great salesperson because they've got the gift of the gab. They're really chatty. Often you'll find those people, they're just product pushers or account managers, if you like. Real good salespeople, they ask great questions and get their prospects talking. So if you imagine a scenario, let's say that you're going into a paint shop and you want to get some paint to paint the house. One scenario is the salesman takes you to the aisle and says, we've got this paint here, this paint here, this paint here, this paint here, and they're talking at you. You can probably picture that in any other shop that you might have been into. They're just talking at you and product pushing. So let's rewind a second. Imagine that salesperson has done some margin analysis of all their products and they understand which is the most profitable. So they know that this paint over here is more profitable than this paint over here. So it might guide them to where they're going to want to do the selling. But we're not going to sell somebody something they don't need. So we need to ask questions. So they might ask some questions along the lines of, what room are you painting? Have you got good ventilation? Have you got a wood fire? Do you like painting? Have you got kids? And once they've developed those questions, then they can make a suggestion of what the person needs. So this paint over here you can have, it's going to solve what you need. But what we find is that people who buy this generally come back for 2 or 3 years later and want more paint. And just for a few pounds more, you can have this paint over here, which will last you 10 years. It's also got a harder finish so that with the kids that you mentioned you've got who are banging against the wall, it will last longer. You also mentioned you've got a wood fire, which taints the ceiling. This is easy to wipe off, etc., etc. So we're guiding them towards the more expensive one, although we've recommended a cheap one first. What you'll find is people will still go for the cheap one from time to time, but more people will now go towards the more expensive one that earns you more margin because you've sold it to them. You've realized their needs. So what do we need to do then? We need to come up with some questions for you to guide people to uncover the needs that they've got in their business, to uncover their pain points. What are they struggling with? And if I'm right, that is pretty much on 8 minutes. Is that right, Richard?
That is indeed perfect timing. It's like you've done it before.